In the next few videos, I'll be building the heightfield color layer digital asset that I'll be using to build the color map for the landscape. First of all, I'll be doing a little bit of setup and creating the parameters on the heightfield wrangle that will drive the tool. So to begin with, what I want to do is just do a little bit of tidy up here. So I'm going to delete this heightfield visualize and take a look at this blast node and go middle mouse click, and I just want to do some tidy up because here we've no longer got a mask layer because I'm blasting it. And I'm blasting it because I don't want multiple mask layers that I've got here. So I'm deleting them. But I actually do want to keep at least one heightfield mask layer. So after the blast, I'm going to add a heightfield copy layer. And I want the source to be height. And then I'm going to create a mask layer by setting the destination to mask. And as you can see, I've now got a mask in the viewport. Now I just don't want to add any information to this layer, I just want to create it so that it is, if I hit the eye icon, sitting here ready to be used when we need to later. So I'm going to uncheck copy source data and also uncheck replace existing. So now I have that mask layer ready to be used later if I need to. Let's just give us a little more space here. So after this heightfield copy layer, I'm going to add, first of all, a heightfield copy layer. And I want to create some layers to store our color information on. So if I come over to my geometry spreadsheet and over to primitives, I've got all the layers I created previously, and I want to create some color layers. I want to create one for R, G, and B to store our color information on. So I can do that again as I did before with the heightfield copy layer. I'm going to set the source layer to height, and in the destination I'm going to type cd.r. And I also want to uncheck copy source data and uncheck replace existing. So if I look at my geometry spreadsheet, I now have a cd.r layer. I'm going to hit a little plus here to add a second copy. Again, I want to set this to height. This time I want to create cd.g. And I'm going to uncheck copy source and replace existing. Hit the plus a third time, and again I want this to be height. And this time I want it to be cd.b for the blue channel. And again, I don't want to copy and I don't want to replace. So now I have R, G, and B. So unlike these color attribute that we create on geometry, so if I create a cube here, so I'm going to add a point wrangle and type at CD equals, and let's make our cube red. That's created a color attribute for me just by typing at CD within this point wrangle. And if I look at my scene, it's automatically visualized that color attribute. Well, that doesn't happen with height fields, which are volumes. If I create a color attribute called CD, it's not automatically visualized in the viewport on our height field. So what we need to do is add a height field visualize. And I'm going to set the material to remove material and update tinting to custom tinting. I'm going to come over to the cog and select grayscale, so we have a value from black to white. And we can specify a layer that we want to visualize. So I can select any particular layer. I'm going to select cliffs just as kind of an example. And we can see that's visualized here with our diffuse ramp from black to white. Well, actually, I can actually type in here a second layer. So I'm going to add the rocks. Well, now we can see we have two layers visualized, red and green, now rather than black to white. And if I add a third one, let's add sand. We've now got red, green and blue visualized. So we can actually use this heightfield visualizer to visualize color in the viewport. So that's how we can visualize our red, green, and blue channels. So let's add those in. Let's type cd.r, cd.g, and cd.b. And that's gone blank. That's because we haven't stored any information on these layers yet. And that's what we'll be doing with our heightfield wrangle. We'll be creating some logic that can take all of our layers and add some color to them, and then we can use this heightfield visualizer to visualize that in the viewport. Before I move on to creating the logic with the heightfield wrangle, I first just want to create the user interface, the parameters that we'll be using. So after this heightfield visualize, I'm going to add a heightfield wrangle, come up to the cog, and edit parameter interface. The first thing I want to add is a folder. I'm going to come up here and drag that onto the root, and I'll add that at the bottom here. And I'm going to change this from a folder type tab to multi-parameter block list. And let's name this layers. I'm going to name the name layers as well as the label layers. And I want to add some parameters to this folder. The first one I'm going to add is a toggle. So I'm going to drag and drop that onto the layers folder. And I'm going to name this layer enable. And then add an underscore hashtag. I'm going to add the same name to the label as well. The next parameter I'm going to add is a string. Again, drag and drop that onto the folder. And let's name this one layer name. Again, underscore hashtag. I'm going to again do the same for the label. And then finally, I want to add color. So let's drag and drop color onto the folder and name this layer color underscore hashtag. Okay, I'm going to hit apply. And then scroll down on my heightfield wrangle, and we can see we have this multi-parameter here. And if I hit the plus icon, it will add our 3 parameters. And I can hit plus again, and it's added another set, and so on. And you can see that hashtag has been replaced with the number of the parameter. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. And we see here we've got enable. I've got a space where I can specify a layer, and this little color parameter where I can set the color of the layer. Something you may have noticed on some of these other nodes that come with Houdini is it has a nice handy little drop down where I can select a layer. And I want to add that same functionality to my layer parameter as well. I'm going to come to the heightfield copied layer. I'm going to right click and come to the type properties. And that's opened up the properties for this particular node. I'm on the parameters tab. And I'm going to select source name. And come over to the menu tab for the parameter. And you can see we've got a script here for this particular parameter. And I'm going to copy this script. So I'm going to highlight it, Control C. I can now close this. I've still got my parameter interface open for the heightfield wrangle. So I'm going to come to the layer name parameter, over to the menu tab, check use menu, change this to replace field and single selection menu, and then come over to the menu script tab and paste in that script. And if I hit apply, take a look at my heightfield wrangle. I now too have this handy little drop down where I can select any of my layers. So that's extremely useful and makes it a lot more user friendly to use. So now I'm going to hit accept to close that down. And I now have the basic interface that I'm going to be using for the tool. So in the next video, I'm going to begin creating the logic that will be using these parameters to create our color map.